Hello everyone and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to AM News on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Uyi Agmofwebe, reminding our viewers that we are on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. President Bola Tinubu has directed the compulsory implementation of health insurance across all ministries, departments and agencies in line with the National Health Insurance Authority Act 2022. A statement by his special advisor on information and strategy, Bayo Onanuga, says the president instructed the secretary to the government of the Federation to issue a service-wide circular mandating compliance. The directive covers 5 key areas, including the compulsory enrollment of all ministries, departments and agencies employees under the National Health Insurance Authority Health Insurance Plan. In a renewed effort to strengthen governance at the grassroots, the House of Representatives has organized national retreats and interactive workshop for local government officials across the country. The initiative, in collaboration with the Association of Local Governments of Nigeria, seeks to equip council officials with the right tools to bridge the gap between the federal government and the people. National Assembly correspondent Anietie Patrick reports.
The National Retreats and Interactive Workshop, convened by the House Committee on Delegated Legislation in partnership with the Association of Local Governments of Nigeria, ALGON, is designed to deepen democracy at the grassroots and promote better service delivery. Chairman of the committee, Olufemi Bamishele, in his welcome address, emphasized the critical role of Parliament in ensuring seamless collaboration between all tiers of government for national development.
Focus will be on the bylaw making process. We will delve into strategies that empower local governments to create impactful bylaws that cater for the unique needs of their communities. This pivotal not only for enhancing local governance, but also for fostering accountability and enriching the lives of the citizens we serve.
Representing the Minister of Special Duties and Intergovernmental Affairs, the Permanent Secretary, Dr. Owunsoro Maduka, challenged local government authorities to take ownership of policies that directly impact their communities.
There's need for continuous training of both executive and legislative arms at the local level on legislative drafting, constitutionalism and policy analysis. Collaboration with state houses of assembly. We need to ensure bylaws are in sync with state laws and federal laws to avoid conflicts or duplication.
Similarly, ALGON National Chairman Bello Lawal, through his representative, reaffirmed the commitment of local government to remain steadfast until they are fully empowered to meet the aspirations of the people.
ALGON will not relent until local governments are fairly empowered with the resources needed to meet the expectation of our people in line with the 1999 Constitution as amended.
Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, represented by the Chairman House Committee on Hyperdeck, Pascal Abodike, underscored the need for continuous synergy between the federal and local governments for the benefits of the masses.
The Local Government Council to bring the activities of government to the grassroots. The bylaws being made by the Local Government Council are very important to govern people from the rural area. But I must also advise that the enforcement of those laws should be properly looked into.
The retreats brought together officials from the 774 local government areas of the Federation, providing a platform for robust interaction and exchange of ideas. Anietie Patrick, reporting for Global TV.
President Bola Tinubu has directed an immediate review of security operations in Katsina State, with a pledge to strengthening the fight against banditry through the deployment of advanced military hardware and surveillance gadgets. Speaking at the State House in Abuja at the reception of a delegation led by Katsina State Governor Diko Rada, the president emphasized that the country's security challenges are manageable. Here is Ramsey Agbo's report.
President Bola Tinubu says there is need for security outfits that understand local terrain and culture, adding that the daily feedback on security operations in the state must be provided. He added that his administration is reviewing all aspects of security and would holistically consider creating state police.
I'm reviewing all the aspects of the security. It might be necessary, instead of all this civilian, this method this, or JTVFT civilian that, and I have to create state police. We are looking at that holistically. We will defeat security. It will be effective. We must protect our children, our people, and our livelihood, and places of worship and places of recreation. They can't intimidate us. On one hand, the forest guard is being empowered.
I'm sure God, Allah and His infinite mercy will be with you.
For honoring the late President Muhammadu Buhari with a true state funeral, Masari assured the President of the loyalty of the state.
I'm sure God, Allah and His infinite mercy will be with you. We are assuring you that under the leadership of the Governor, Dr. Umar Dukorada, Kazina will be delivered in all elections to APC, inshallah.
Waziri of Katsina, Senator Ibrahim Ida, commended President Tinubu's efforts to ensure the timely completion of the Kano-Maradi rail projects and other infrastructures in the state. Ida said the Umaru Musa Yar'Adua International Airport needed an upgrade to optimize its usage.
At this juncture, Mr. President, allow me to point out that despite the state's very limited and meager financial resources, the state government, the Katsina state government, has expended well over 40 billion naira on security assets, training, and other logistic supports for our national security agencies, particularly those domiciled in Katsina. These are much needed funds which could have been judiciously utilized to provide infrastructure and other much needed social services to our community.
With assurance of loyalty from leaders of Katsina State and renewed commitment from the presidency, the review of security operations is expected to pave the way for more decisive action against banditry while strengthening the push for community-driven policing. Ramsey Enoch Agbo reporting for Global TV News.
Thank you so very much, Ramsey. Let's change the stories now. President Bola Tinubu says education is the greatest weapon in the fight against poverty and empowering individuals to overcome financial challenges and build a better future through inclusiveness and equitable access. The president made these remarks during the reception of the son of Ogbomosho, Oba Gandhi Afolabi Oladuni Oromo Gege III at the State House in Abuja. President Bola Tinubu highlighted the importance of the Nigerian Education Loan Fund, a groundbreaking initiative established under the Student Loans Act. The president emphasized that his administration is committed to investing resources to guarantee that every Nigerian child has access to quality education, regardless of socio-economic background. He further noted that the ongoing reforms would not only break the cycle of poverty, but also equip young Nigerians with the skills to drive national development and secure the country's future.
We've established NEL Fund for the students, that no one will be a dropout because of level of poverty. Everybody is entitled to education. It's the greatest weapon that you can give to human beings against poverty. That's what we've been doing. are renewing aggressively our infrastructure. And it's just 2 years. I'm glad to report to you today that the economy is stabilized, the bleeding has stopped, the hemorrhage is gone, the patient is alive, Nigeria is alive, Nigeria is respected, Nigeria is becoming a great business partner to the rest of the world.
Earlier in his speech, Oba Gandhi Afolabi Oladuni Orumogege III commended President Tinubu for his unwavering commitment towards the Nigerian youth. The monarch praised the president's visionary leadership, particularly his focus on youth empowerment, education reform, and socio-economic inclusion. Oba Gandhi Afolabi expressed optimism that the ongoing initiatives would uplift communities and foster a new generation of skilled, confident, and socially responsible Nigerians.
The ASU strike that used to happen, which was a perennial problem, one way or the other, you've been able to tackle it. We have the student thing. Now, the funding that has been given to indigent students who they would probably not have been able to afford it. Now they have access to these funds. And your commitment towards the youth development in this country, we can see it. And we believe that in 2 years, it's amazing the things that are difficult, the things that were the big gorilla in the room that everybody has ignored. But because of your person and the boldness that you have confronted all of them. And we have come to say that your actions are not going unnoticed. And I believe that the difficult times for Nigerians, we are surely seeing the light at the end of the tunnel.
Additionally, President Bola Tinubu received King Alfred Dietespiv, the Amayanabo of Tuombras Kingdom, at the presidential villa in Abuja. Uyi Agumofwegbe reporting for Global TV News. The Independent National Electoral Commission and the National Identity Management Commission are stepping up collaboration to improve Nigeria's electoral process through stronger identity management. As part of these efforts, the Commission officials now will be deployed to selected INEC registration centers during the ongoing continuous voter registration exercise. Sadia Yakubu has details.
The Independent National Electoral Commission Chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, today received the Director General of the National Identity Management Commission, Abisoye Koka Odusote, and her management team at INEC headquarters in Abuja. Professor Yakubu noted that both INEC and NIMC manage the largest biometric database in the country, stressing that their partnership is crucial in ensuring credibility and accuracy in elections.
Under the leadership of the current Director General, we have engaged at different times with the intention of solidifying our partnership in the area of identity management. As is well known, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, holds the database of citizens for the purpose of elections, while NIMC has the record of citizens generally. Together, our two agencies hold the largest biometric databases of citizens in Nigeria.
On her path, the NIMC's Director General Abisoye Koka said the Commission is focused on harmonizing identity data across ministries, departments, and agencies. She described INEC as a critical partner in achieving credible elections in line with President Bola Tinubu's renewed hope agenda.
And fairness across board. So we are working hand to hand. He's been here longer than I have been, and he has been a great support system in driving the federal government's agenda forward on how do we ensure that we make Nigerians happy, because that's our number one goal, making sure all citizens are happy. Thank you.
The courtesy visit further reaffirmed the two agencies' commitment to work together in deepening identity integration and strengthening Nigerians' democratic process. Sadia Yakubu, Global Television News.
Thank you, Zadia. In line with the federal government's initiative on infrastructure development across satellite towns and area councils of the Federal Capital Territory, the Federal Capital Territory Administration has officially flagged off the reconstruction of Cairo Interchange to Custom Clinic Junction to ease traffic congestion across the area council. Kabir Hassan reports.
For years, residents and commuters in Cairo have endured untold hardship due to the poor state of roads in the area. The road condition not only slowed down economic activities, but also created daily traffic chaos, accidents, and loss of man-hour for thousands who rely on road networks to connect to the city center. The project, tagged Emergency Rehabilitation of Cairo Road, is set to serve as a catalyst to the people of Cairo and will be completed in a period of 10 months. The Federal Capital Territory Minister, Nyesom Wike, says the project is part of President Bola Tinubu's administration commitment to develop satellite towns in terms of infrastructure, urging the people of Cairo to exercise patience as the project will be benefit to the residents.
The essence of the New Hope agenda is to bring back hope to the people. And I know that the people of Cairo, hope has come back to you. Business environment will thrive here. And we are not just doing this road, they will all have street lights. And I hereby order the contractor to make sure all these other additional roads will also be completed within 10 months.
The minister assured the people of Cairo that all other bad roads will be taken care and commend them for their maximum cooperation, adding that he will be visiting to inspect the project while also applauding the contractors handling the project.
I will be coming here very often to inspect this project because it's one of the projects we have lined up that our people must enjoy in the 3rd year anniversary of Mr. President.
The contractors of the project, Abdul Val Limited, assured the minister of quality work and promised to complete before deadline, urging Cairo residents for patience and cooperation.
We assure you that Abdul Val will bring the same dedication here in Cairo with highly skilled personnel, modern equipment, and years of experience. We deliver a road that meets the highest standard within the approved time frame.
The construction of Cairo town roads is not just an infrastructure upgrade, but also a milestone that promises to ease traffic, boost businesses, and improve daily life for residents. For the people of Cairo, the project represents renewed hope and a step forward lasting development in the Federal Capital Territory. Kabir Hassan, Global TV News.
Kabir Hassan there following through for us with developments across the Federal Capital Territory. We appreciate your reporting, Kabir. The Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission has unveiled new regulations to tackle abuses in Nigeria's digital lending sector. The rules, known as the Digital Electronic Online or Non-Traditional Consumer Lending Regulations 2025, ban harassment, data breaches, and exploitative recovery tactics by loan apps, mandating transparency, fair interest rates, ethical marketing, and data privacy. Executive Chairman of the Commission, Tunji Bello, said the move draws a clear line between innovation and abuse, insisting no Nigerian should be pushed into unsustainable debts or humiliated in the name of digital lending. Young people in Zamfara State have been urged to rise above violence and divisive politics by embracing issue-based dialogue as a tool for good governance and effective representation. This call was made at a one-day summit convened by the Coalition for Youth, Students, and Entrepreneurs for Good Governance in Gusau, Zamfara State capital. Sadia Yakubu reports.
The one-day summit brought together youth, students, entrepreneurs and other stakeholders from across the 14 local government areas of Zamfara State. The keynote speaker, Dr. Abdurrauf Abdullahi, says the focus is to sensitize young people on the need to pursue civic engagement through peaceful and issue-based dialogue. He stressed that integrity and truthfulness should guide youth as they play active roles in governance.
Number one, as a good leader, you must be intelligent. A dull person does not lead a nation. A dull person does not lead people. Intelligence will warrant you the ability to be able to put 1, 2, 3 together and get yourself out of a complex situation without being...
Lead discussant and former youth leader Lukman Majidadi urged young people to go beyond being followers and aspire to leadership positions. He says the coalition will sustain mobilization of youth and students for peaceful civic participation and democratic development.
And then in my own discussion, I was able to also highlight to the youth why they should participate, why they should identify people who are already established philanthropists, people who are already on the field, whose track records or antecedents have given a clear indication that they will be able to serve as good leaders.
Youth leader of the coalition, Nuruddin Salisu, further appealed to stakeholders to avoid violence, hate speech and divisive politics while embracing issue-based dialogue for the progress of Zamfara State.
To continue mobilizing youth, students and entrepreneurs for peaceful civic engagement and democratic participation. 2. To strengthen issue-based dialogue and reject violence, hate speech and divisive politics.
With the growing call for peace and inclusive governance, participants at the summit says the onus is now on young people and stakeholders to translate the resolutions into action for the sustainable development of Zamfara State. Sadia Yakubu, Global Television.
You're watching the AM News here on Global Television. When the rest of the broadcast returns, United Nations worries over growing restriction ahead of Cameroon election. We'll have those details and more for you behind this short break. Please do stay with us. Welcome back to the second part of this news broadcast, which now begins with stories from the foreign scene. The United Nations says growing restrictions in Cameroon surrounding presidential elections scheduled for October are raising fears about whether voters can freely choose their candidate. This is coming as President Paul Biya, the world's oldest head of state at 92, seeks a new 7-year term to extend his nearly 43 years in power in an election scheduled for just a few weeks from now. United Nations Rights Chief Volker Turk made a case for a safe and enabling human rights environment that is essential for peaceful, inclusive and credible elections, stating that this is, however, not the case in Cameroon. Spokesman in the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, Jeremy Lawrence, cited an incident on August 7 when Jordan Yegba, a former senior member of the opposition African Movement for New Independence and Democracy, was escorted off air by security forces 8 minutes into a live television interview.
Recently, a live television interview with a political figure was interrupted by security forces. These developments come following the suspension of 3 civil society organisations and the banning of 2 others in December last year, and restrictions that were imposed on the operations and funding of some civil society groups.
There have also been concerns regarding the exclusion of some political figures from the race, as well as irregularities in voter registration. The report also cited opposition candidates and their supporters who had been intimidated and threatened.
Ahead of the presidential election in October, growing restrictions on civic and democratic space in Cameroon are raising fears about whether voters can freely express their will. We are today calling on the government of Cameroon to ensure an environment conducive to a free, transparent, inclusive and genuine vote. Several gatherings have been banned amid rising restrictions on the activities of opposition political parties in the lead-up to the vote.
Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights said last month Cameroonian security forces had arrested at least 53 opposition supporters who were accused of public disorder, unlawful assembly, rebellion, and incitement to revolt. Uyi Agbomofwegbe reporting for Global TV News. And that's the much we have for you here on Global AM News. A quick reminder that we are on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. As always, we encourage you to follow, subscribe, and engage with us across social media platforms using Global TV NG as well as other handles now showing on your screen. I am Uyi Agbomofwegbe saying thank you for watching, and Global Morning begins shortly. Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest. And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
A beautiful good morning and welcome to another wonderful Thursday. In fact, it is a great day, and of course, this is Global Morning on Global Television, reaching you live and direct from the nation's capital, Abuja, Nigeria. Today, we'll be taking you through some of the happenings from the current affairs, coming down to politics and everything. So good to have you join us on Global Morning today. My name is Ramsey Enoch Agbo, and of course, we Agbomofoegbe is right here as we stir the affairs of Global Morning to make your day a global one, of course. And let me start by saying that Mr. Oye is going to be unveiling something. He's going to be telling us something at the course of the program. So if you want to know what he's going to say, all you have to do is sit down very close to your television. If you must move out at all, go with a handheld and continue following.
Yeah, just ensure you don't lose track.
Don't lose track at all. Good morning, Uye.
Good morning, Ramsey. It's always a delight to see you and have you on the show. Ramsey just had me set up for a second right there, but his points were very valid, promises to be very informative and as always, and then of course interactive as well. Quite a number of issues we have to talk about as we do every other day here on the program today, including issues that have to do with the different policies coming out of different countries right now. The United Kingdom is rolling out review of its policies, new measures being announced every now and then. The US also has been, let's just say, relentless as to how it enforces its own immigration policies and things like that. And people say, well, the world should not be surprised in the case of the United States for one reason. The fact that you have Mr. Donald Trump at the White House, and as such, these sort of radical, aggressive moves should be expected in the first instance, because the man does not have a reputation, so to speak, for being immigration friendly, which has become a topical discourse across the world. All right, how that, for example, we're seeing law enforcement agents go into even places of worship, in some cases to schools, just to enforce removal of those considered to be illegal aliens and things like that. And then when you flip over to the United Kingdom, it's pretty much the same thing. Now the UK in its own case is very unequivocal. It is saying to those who have overstayed their welcome, those whose visas have expired, or those within the category of immigrants whose visa status or is not covered by the new framework being put in place, because certain requirements and measures have now been announced to say that if you do not meet XYZ criteria, you can't remain in the UK. And now the authorities in the United Kingdom are taking it a step further in a way that is very practical and proactive. They are now emailing those they consider to have overstayed their visas, and then they are also now texting them. We are hearing from unconfirmed sources that they are even going to some people's homes just to ensure that they enforce this removal. But the bottom line is that the authorities in the United Kingdom are advising those who are there, quote unquote, illegally, to say you have to leave voluntarily, otherwise we're going to roll out the appropriate mechanisms to ensure that we remove you from our country. I'm thinking that there are very valuable lessons that countries around the world, especially in the so-called global south, into which Nigeria and indeed other African countries are being categorized, to learn from this sort of development. Because one of the things I learned as a young boy growing up is that issuance of a visa is not even a guarantee of entry into a country in the first instance, but this probably should be an opportunity for us back at home to reflect on where we are as a country.
I think that's very true, because these are people that when they back at it,
right?
Like you said, they've already started enforcing, and you know, like in that part of the world, when they send you an email, it's as valid as a call.
Right.
You know, like here that people believe, you sent email, why not? You would have called me and all of that.
Or come to the office.
Or come to the office. If they send you an email,
right,
that's a different call. And so I think if you ever feel welcome, you should know what to do.
Right.
And right now that these policies are coming up, there is barely nothing anyone can do about it, because it's a policy, it's a regulation that must be followed to the latter. And of course, the implementation, they will follow it up too, to make sure it's being implemented. So now, for people who don't really have any other option, what would they do? Because if you say, okay, it's happening in the UK, let me move from UK and go to another country. What do you think will happen in that country? Are you eligible to live in countries like that? So these are some of the questions that we should be asking. Because I don't know, for Nigerians who are victim, who may be victim of this circumstance, I don't know where they are going to get started. Because already back at home, so much is happening. And Nigerians, as it is right now, will not want to tolerate anything like maybe somebody is being deported for the wrong reasons, and you're coming back home, you don't know where to start from, you don't know what to do. I don't think we have that enabling environment to take in people like that, because even the people back at home are scampering, people are struggling, people are hustling to make sure both ends meet. Imagine someone who probably have nothing on ground, you know, where do you get started from? But then the bottom line is, you don't wait until the hatchet has been raised before you begin to run. You don't need to be chased. It's better you chase yourself before you are being chased by the authorities in that country, because at that time that you're chasing yourself, you have a pace. But right now, you're running. When someone else is chasing you, you're running for your life, and anything can happen. So I think what we need to do is, but Nigerians don't even, it's been said, but I don't know of people who are not in the country. They said some Nigerians don't read. And there are some of these regulations, hidden letters, that maybe have spoken about these things long ago, before the implementation is even coming up. But don't be surprised that some persons will be hearing about some of these things, these regulations, for the first time. Some don't even know it exists, because they may, oh, it's an opportunity. They just call it opportunity, and that's why a lot of people have fallen into that trap, because what they are looking at as an opportunity, for some persons it may be a trap when it is not properly handled. Well, let's just keep our fingers crossed. But for Donald Trump,
it's a different case altogether.
It's a different case altogether. So for those in the United States, no, it won't be over anytime soon. Because this for Donald Trump, it's not just Africans. It's not.
It's across the world.
It's across the world. So if it is just Africans, you say, these people have started with their discriminations again, as some people may allege. But this is across the world. So what would you say about that? It's just do the right thing, and just do the right thing, and that's the only option left.
All right, we need to continue to do the right thing, individually and collectively. That's one way we can take responsibility for our actions, our choices, and our decisions, and ultimately be able to lead by example. We're taking a break. So much to talk about on the program today. Two big conversations also in front of us. That and more after this short break. All right, we need to move things up a little to some of the issues beyond the shores of our country, but more like within the neighborhood, as they say. Cameroon has elections scheduled for, that's presidential election in particular, October, which is just a matter of a few weeks away from here. Of course, you can't talk about Cameroon and you don't have the picture of President Paul Biya flash through your mind, a man who has done upwards of 4 decades in office, and now he's seeking a re-election to hopefully extend his time as the president of Cameroon by 7 years. All right, but that's not even the immediate concern. The United Nations Office of the Human Rights Commissioner is now expressing worries about how that there are allegations. These allegations are becoming even more rife by the day, that the government, under the leadership of President Biya, is now suppressing dissenting voices, in some cases taking people into custody because they are not in the president's camp. Things like that. They also talked about a very leading opposition figure who was led out of a media house, a broadcast media outfit, just about 6 minutes into, 8 minutes I should say, into a live interview. This is in Cameroon. Of course, if you have seen Paul Biya, if you followed a bit of the history around the presidency, election and politics of Cameroon, you realize that this man is the longest serving head of state in the world as of today. Let's not even talk about his age for a second.
I think while you were speaking, something came to my mind. I said I was going to ask you. So let me just ask. Please, let me just ask. Nigerians, let me just ask. Why is it that people are never tired of being in power?
Okay, well,
it's not just
your response to that question.
This is, I don't know, it's not just in Africa now.
Right.
It's not just in Africa now. It's in human nature, like we're taught in our basic economics that human wants are insatiable. Right? I'm still waiting for someone that will ever come and say, I am satisfied. I am still waiting for that time when someone will come up and said, I am rich and I am tired of getting more wealth. You know, I'm waiting for that time, especially in Africa, where someone in power, you know, without anyone even forcing the person to say, well, I don't want to continue to be in power again. And that's the reason. Someone said on one of my programs, when some people were proposing a one term for themselves in Nigeria, and El-Rufai said, well, that's a political campaign. That's what he said in the media. Then you begin to look at it, and can we just give these people a try to see if they will really do one term and not recontest again, because the law said you can recontest after the first 4 years. Now, coming to that of Cameroon, as it is right now, the painful aspect of it is that they use this power to suppress other persons who want to take over. And it's been a scenario in some part of Africa that there is this belief that the incumbent government would always return, except if they don't contest. But will they not contest? They will ever contest. They will keep contesting. They've not been tired, except for some part of Africa, like Nigeria, where they will say just 2 terms. Remember, there was a push for a 3rd term, even somewhere in Nigeria here by Olusegun Obasanjo, if I could remember, if my brain serves me right. You know, so coming to talk about leadership, it's not a birthright. I think we've gone past those eras where they'll say, okay, it has to be just this family. Okay, it just has to be just one family that will be leading and all of that. Now, what I feel is it will be better if it is not just one person, because no single person have a monopoly of knowledge and wisdom and leadership skill and styles. They vary from individuals because of the dynamism of human beings. So as it is, let's give everyone a try. Whoever said, okay, I want to be a leader, and the person is being checked and is tested and trusted, such people should be given the opportunity. Don't see, the truth is this: it is one thing for the people to say, okay, he has done just too well. Please, let's give him some more chance. It's a unanimous agreement. It's what the people want. If you do well, the people would want you to continue. But you struggling and suppressing other persons who would want to contest alongside with you because you are the incumbent, it's not the right thing to do. That's a question mark. That means there is something wrong with your own administration, as it were. So I'm waiting. But then I think it's so good that activists most times will not keep their mouth shut when they see these things going wrong. It's good that somebody is coming up now, right there in Cameroon, to raise a voice to say, well, you don't have to suppress other people who have what it takes to contest with you just because you are the one in power. I think all of these have to be looked into everywhere in the world, not just in Africa alone.
Of course, quite frankly, lately we had even seen innuendos coming out of the White House, Donald Trump, saying that, just muting the idea of a third term. As a matter of fact, journalists at the White House had asked him one time very directly, do you still think it's possible for you to vie for office for a third term? And he says that option is not off the table. Quite interesting thing to say. But then again, Ramsey has just made a very brilliant point about the sit-tight syndrome, which is not peculiar to Africa. All right, we're not going to sit tight on this conversation. We're moving things forward. When we return from this short break, everyone, it will be time to look at newspaper headlines for you. Please do stay with us. All right, let's begin looking at the papers for you now, starting with the Nigerian News Direct. We start with the headline on the top left corner of the paper this morning. And here it reads, traditional ruler residents commend Ogun government as Sango Abeokuta Expressway nears completion. Then a headline here with the picture of Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu. Says 2 years anniversary, Sanwo-Olu slashes fare on Blue Line by 50%. Quite commendable. And that takes us to the Star headline that reads, leaving Nigeria through illegal migration is voluntary suicide. That's according to NITCOM, the Nigerian Diaspora Commission. The writer says, as agency receives another rescued youth from Libya. Then on the right end of it, right corner of the paper, Northeast governors visit Tinubu, requests completion of 17 roads, oil exploration. Outrage in Bayelsa as police accused of freeing suspects in viral assault case. Nigeria's non-oil revenues surge 40.5% to 20.59 trillion naira. That's a good place to be. FCCPC rolls out 100 million naira sanctions for digital lenders harassing customers. You know, this is one phenomenon, Ramsey, that has become very popular lately. Digital lending, all sorts of app out there for lending. You know, on your fingertips, you find all of them across your devices. You're able to borrow money from anywhere in the world, any time of day, any time of week, weekends, public holidays, and what have you. But we have also seen a lot of trouble come with this phenomenon because of the fact that there have been abuses or all kinds of unethical practices. But now the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, the FCCPC, has now waded in to say that, look, we now have a legal framework in place, a piece of legislation to help define what the operations should be like? Because the commission is saying that we can't have a situation where Nigerians are harassed on account of digital lending. And ultimately, it has established that as part of its mandate, it wants to strike a clear distinction between innovation and abuse. I don't know what you'll be hearing about digital lending, but I've been on my own minding my business on many occasions. I receive a call and somebody says, well, such and such person used your name or your data as as a surety. So we're calling now to let you know that the person has not paid their loan. And you're wondering, hold on a second, I've never heard this name my entire life.
I've had text messages and calls like that before, severally. And it's so bad that some persons have even committed suicide because of the embarrassment. The embarrassment is even so much such that some persons cannot even bear it.
Right.
And sometimes they will even accuse you of taking loans that you never took. I've heard people complaining, you're sending me messages, you're calling me, I never took any loan from you.
Right.
Probably because of people who snatch phones and use people's number, phone numbers to go do this borrowing without any formal, because the way they do these things, you just go and borrow. In fact, they bombard you with messages. They'll be calling you, begging you to come and borrow. But at the end of the day, you see the embarrassment.
Right.
So if this is coming up and it's going to be faced or packaged in a better way with some form of regulations, it's going to go a long way. Because for some persons, it's helpful.
Right.
Okay, for some persons, it's helpful. But remember the human nature. Taking is easy. But paying back,
it requires a lot of discipline.
But why? What I tell people is, why do you even borrow for pleasure?
Right.
To service maybe your affluence or maybe to service your lifestyle. No, you don't borrow to service lifestyle. You can't be starting a business. I tell people all the time, you can't be starting a business and your first capital is being borrowed.
Right.
What kind of business is that? This is a business you're going into for the first time. You don't know the pros and cons, the outcome of this business yet. This is a business that is supposed to have its footing in the next 2-3 years before you even start saying, okay, I now know where to borrow and all of that. And you see people, but then I think if these apps can be regulated, and all this embarrassment will be stopped, it will be better. And their regulation should be such that there should be an assessment made on the person who is borrowing before they borrow. Because you don't just go and borrow to somebody you know that obviously this one can't pay back.
Right. Very interesting. Ethical practices, and Rams is also saying that it's not just about borrowing, but you must borrow responsibly. All right, well, that's what we'll leave it with the Nigerian News Direct for you. Read up details from those headlines and then be guided. Next port of call will be the Daily Trust's newspaper. Ramsey has those headlines for us.
All right, let's quickly move to the Daily Trust newspaper this morning and see the headlines that we have. On the Daily Trust newspaper this morning, this one says 29 die in Niger boat mishap. Northern Elders Forum calls for state of emergency on its security. Northeast governors meet Tinubu seek oil exploration, roads completion. Federal government introduces AI, robotics in new curriculum. That's beautiful. I think I like that because I think this is an attempt to meet up with what is happening globally, because AI and robotics is taking over so many things.
That's right.
As far as the society is concerned. So if the federal government is introducing AI and robotics in the new curriculum, it will be fine. Because if there's one area that our children are so backward, is in the area of tech.
Right.
And tech as it is right now is the future that we have at hand. So if AI and robotics is being introduced in the new curriculum, I think for me, I look at it as a welcome development. Touts chase couple to death in Abuja. I don't understand. Pick a copy of the Daily Trust newspaper and get into that story to see what it means. Touts chase couple to death in Abuja. Now to the big story, which is going to be the last on the Daily Trust newspaper. I can end banditry in 2 months, Zamfara governor. So what are we waiting for? I think this is good. I can end banditry in 2 months. So the question now is, what has been stopping him? Because Zamfara has been on the red alert severally. Let's see. Maybe you get a copy of the Daily Trust and see what is there. There is a caption there. There is a quote which says, more like a rider to that story, and it says, I swear to Almighty Allah, whenever a bandit's leader is located within Zamfara state, I know it, and if he goes out, I know with my mobile phone, I can show you where these bandits are today. Wow. This is, I don't know, I don't want to say it's indicting, but then this is a weighty statement that needs to be followed up by the CDS, the DSS, so that at least a problem known, they said, is half solved.
That's right.
Well, that's the size of the headlines from the Daily Trust newspaper this morning.
All right, let's turn to the Vanguard. Thank you, Ramsey. Let's begin with the star headline here. The kicker says, insecurity. I have to create state police. That's the president now, Tinubu, talking. Has a few riders, about 5 of them, accompanying that headline, so you can read up for context and perspective. Far above the nameplate of the Vanguard today, price hike, no subsidy on CNG, says federal government. Top left corner of it, alleged terrorism. DSS docks 9 over killings in Benue Plateau. FG not using anti-corruption agencies to witch hunt opposition. Minister. Idil Malud, FG declares tomorrow public holiday. Yes, that story has been out there for a while now. Then, of course, we have a bit of sport for you on the right corner of the front page. 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifying match. Fans to pay 3,000 and 1,000 naira to see Eagles and Mavubi. Sports fan, get ready for it. U.S. cites security concerns for visa revocation. Sirika blames Air Peace United Asman for failure of Nigerian Air. Well, was the context within which the former aviation minister made that statement. You can find out details on page 8 of the Vanguard newspaper. And finally, NLC to federal government emulates states that pay above 70,000 naira minimum wage. Those details are also on page 9. All right, those are your headlines from the Vanguard newspaper. Next port of call is the Nation newspaper.
All right, let's quickly move to the Nation's newspaper and see the headlines that we have on the Nation's this morning. On the Nation's newspaper, there are so many headlines, and of course, we'll look at the very first one, which is the big story on the Nation's. And for the big story, which is the first that I will be taking, says Tinubu's victory in 2027, sure, says Abdul Mumin. All right. Just one rider to that story. And the rider says, Kwankwaso open to talks. President not to blame for nation's woes. All right, you can see the picture story right there. And there was one picture flying on social media where the president and Kwankwaso actually were in talks. Online voters registration hits 2.5 million in 14 days. Then this one says tomorrow is public holiday. Details on page 4. Why additional loan payment is delayed by NEL Fund. If you want to get the details, pick a copy of the Nation's newspaper and move straight to page 4. Dangote Group disowns truck involved in Enugu accident. Details on page 2. President orders MDAs to implement health insurance. FCCPC to battle digital lending abuse. Very important. One rider to that story. Operators must register. That's important. Now, this one says Zulum leads Northeast governors to Tinubu request completion of 17 roads, oil exploration. Benue Plateau killing suspects pleads guilty, illegal arms possession. Benue Plateau killing suspect pleads guilty to illegal arms possession. One rider to that story, DSS arrests 9 at Federal High Court. The aftermath is what Nigerians are really looking for. Now, this one says 20.59 trillion naira. Federal government 8 months revenue strongest in history. And of course, finally, from the Nation's newspaper this morning, this one says the path to ending incessant ASU strike. 29 killed in Niger boat accident. And those are the headlines from the Nation's newspaper this morning as we move to our next point of call.
All right, and that will be the Daily Times newspaper. From adjacent, the name, I mean, I should say above the nameplate of the Daily Times today, Federal Capital Territory Administration revokes all park allocations in Abuja, orders fresh screening. Why is that? Well, those details await you on page 15. What more do we have here? DSS arraigned 9 suspects over Benue Plateau killings. Those also are details you can read up on page 2. Rescued Nigerian girl warns youths against irregular migration. National Library, Nigeria's intellectual heritage must not depend on charity, ADC tells First Lady. Apparently that's in obvious reference to the First Lady's statement that those who want to celebrate her birthday should contribute to Nigeria's National Library. Corruption has eroded Nigeria's economic prosperity, Chatham House reports. The same Chatham House that we run to every time we aspire to become president. U.S. government commits $32.5 million to United Nations World Food Programs in Nigeria. Nigeria ranks 2nd in global cryptocurrency adoption. Is that a good thing or should we be worried? Well, I'm sure the details on page 10 will provide you insights. Okay, those are the all headlines now from the Daily Times newspaper. And then we'll move on to another paper, this time the New Telegraph newspaper.
All right, on the New Telegraph newspaper this morning, let's quickly look at the story above the nameplate which says CBN mops up 1.19 trillion naira excess cash from economy. All right, 1.19 trillion naira excess cash from economy. All right, digital lending, that's the rider. Federal government move to tackle abuse with stiff regulations. This one says reps unveil reform to strengthen grassroots governance. Federal government declares Friday public holiday for Eid al-Mawlid. All right. NAMA installs aeronautical facilities in 26 airports. Now to the big story. Before the big story, this one says a boat accident claims 29 lives in Niger, 50 rescued, 2 still missing. Details on page 28. And now to the big story on the New Telegraph, and it says INEC, thus the kicker. We are working to ensure Nigerians can vote anywhere in the country. That's beautiful. We are working to ensure Nigerians can vote anywhere in the country. And I think that's going to go a long way. But then, will that curb some of the irregularities we've been having? Wouldn't we have glitches, like they've said? But then if it is going to be on the internet, maybe the majority of the problem might be internet connection, which is at the discretion of the voter. I think that's a welcome development. And you know, there was a clamor in 2023 for diaspora voting too, so that Nigerians who are true Nigerians, who are registered Nigerians with their NIN can actually cast their vote from wherever
anywhere
in the world.
Right.
I think we should be that advanced at this level. If INEC is working towards that, it is a welcome development. So we'll keep our fingers crossed to see how this is really going to go. One writer to that story, and the writer says a national register of voters may draw from citizenship register as NIMSI to deploy officials to registration centers during national CVR exercise. 2027, Tinubu not weaponizing EFCC, ICPC for political witch hunt. That's coming from the federal government. Remember, there have been a lot of allegations by oppositions, especially when what's his name was invited by EFCC from the north. You know, a lot of eyebrow. People are saying, well, these anti-graft agencies are being used to witch hunt people that are oppositions and all of that. Now, federal government is saying that, well, is far from the truth. But then, I think everyone will use their tongue to count their teeth because that's how it is.
Just make sure you have enough teeth.
Enough teeth. DSS arraigned 9 prime suspects in Benue Plateau attacks. Details on page 8. Insecurity. Tinubu calls on governors to work with NAS on state police creation. Wow, this is seeing the light of day. Well, like the complaint has been, the prayer is that these people are not be turned to something else. Someone was saying, I don't know if it was a joke, that there is a regulation that the Nigeria police force uniform shouldn't have pockets anymore. I was seeing it on the internet and I was like, hey, come on, is someone joking here? All right, and then this one says, federal government's 20.59 trillion non-oil revenue in 8 months, strongest physical performance in recent history. That's coming from the presidency. And finally, from here, I think that's all for now on the New Telegraph as we move to the next paper.
All right, let's see what happens with our next paper, the Punch newspaper. Big one here reads, APC opposition clash over federal government's revenue growth claim. There are 3 writers to that story, again here this morning. And then above the nameplates, my reforms have restored Nigeria's global respect. That position is credited to the president. Non-oil revenue jumps 40% to 20.6 trillion naira, according to presidency. National Association of Resident Doctors insists on strike, says over 2,000 doctors owed. That headline has a picture of the Minister of Health and Coordinating Minister for Social Development, Dr. Ali Mohammed Patti. Then adjacent the nameplate is a picture of the U.S. President Donald Trump. Security concerns behind visa cancellations for Nigerians. Others, that's according to the U.S. The fruit of the paper, 3 killed in Lagos Masquerader Festival clash. That story is replicated across major papers today. Terrorists recruited 1,364 West African children, shot 14,000 schools. A report according to the United Nations that has its details on page 7 of today's issue of the Punch newspaper. All right, so you read up details for yourself as we look at our last paper this morning, which is the Leadership newspaper, and Ramsey will bring us those headlines.
All right, let's quickly move to the Leadership and see where it's really leading us right now. On the Leadership newspaper this morning, some major headlines that I'll be taking right quickly. This one says, BPE plans listing to discuss Genco on stock exchange. Tinubu, we've met 2025 revenue target in August. We are stable. Wow. All right, I think we'll need some economists to actually throw more light on this. Recapitalization, fresh measure loom for tier 2 banks as deadline nears. This is coming from a report. Reps leadership exclusive report sparks probe into controversial hiring. Leadership exclusive report sparks probe into controversial hiring. This is rampant in Nigeria. This one says Hajj 2026 NACO unveils application guidelines for travel agencies. ASU federal government dispute. NEC to decide next line of action, says union leader. And of course, this one says NCAA urges EFCC to tackle aviation fraud. Nigeria, India bid for 2030 Commonwealth Game. We will work with Fubara after his return. Rivers APC. Okay. Children dying of malaria in AI age. Unacceptable. This is coming from the former president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Olusegun Obasanjo. And finally, from the leadership, now the big story. The big story says Wike camp PDP governors on collision course over convention. Well, as at the time when we think it's all over, we still see some feuds here and there from people that we feel, Nigerians feel are leaders in this political practice. But then, what can you describe that to be? Distraction or tools being used by some opposition or whatever you want to think it? Well, that is left to you Nigerians. That's the size of the headlines from the leadership this morning.
All right, so thank you so very much, Ramsey. Amazing work there. Don, please be sure you pick up details of these papers and read for yourself. And as always, we'd love to remind you that Global Television does not in any way contribute to these headlines or their details. Whatever we bring to you here from the headlines are just as published by their respective publishers. After this break, we will join Ogochukwu Mobodo to bring you Social Bars. Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest. And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Good morning and welcome to Social Pulse on Global Morning. I am Ogochukwu Mobno. It's indeed a good day to look at what's buzzing on the internet. I must tell you that there's something happening in Lagos. So the Lagos state government has enforced ban on single-use plastic. The Lagos state government enforces ban on single-use plastic, confiscated items from supermarkets. The Lagos state government has since banned single-use plastic from some supermarkets in different areas of the state. The State Commissioner for the Environment and Water Resources, Tokunbo Wahab, disclosed this in a video shared on his X handle on September the 3rd. The video revealed the enforcement officers confiscating single-use plastic cups and products with attached single-use plastic straw. I'd like us to take a look at this video.
If you look at the packaging now, this is paper. Are you aware? Or you are using plastic? See, these are single use that have been confiscated in the Lagos state. And our series of stakeholders meeting, the project
But I'm a confiscate product.
Where's the manager?
Well, we've seen that video, and I must tell you that that's a lot of money going down the drain there. We're going to be taking comments from social media as regards this discussion. I'm sure a lot of people have so much to say, but we are taking a few for the course of our time. So the first comment is coming from Your Safe Heart, and this person says, why not go after the actual companies if this is really contraband before going after retail stores? This country amazes me. The second comment is coming from Shop Everything, and Shop Everything says, this is rubbish. Why not remove the straw and leave the product and find them, if you have to find them actually. Well, the last but not the least comment is coming from Mike Dobbis, and Mike Dobbis says, nah, go to the companies producing them and enforce the ban. Target the routes, not people who have spent money purchasing them. Nigeria is already hard for people. Please stop adding to it. It's getting scarier every day. My thoughts exactly. I think it's better you tackle the roads than just going to a retail store. Well, I'm not here alone. I have with me Ramsey Enoch Agbo. Good morning, Ramsey.
Yeah, good morning, Ogochukwu Mobno. Well, it's good to join you on Social Pulse this morning.
Thank you so much. So, Ramsey, you must have seen that video we just played shortly right now. And just like the story says, that the Lagos state government is banning everything that has to do with single-use plastic. We could see drinks being, confiscated into different bowls like a trolley, moving out of the retail store. What do you think?
There are so many questions that should be asked because this is Nigeria, and people do things for different reasons in Nigeria. Number one, when was the announcement of the ban done? For how long have they been telling people to stop this? How many years? Now, the enforcement. Who are the producers of these products? If they are contraband, how did they get into the country? Now, secondly, or thirdly, as the case may be, it's so hard here. Why not, if the straw is the problem, why not pick the straw and of course leave the drinks for them. I was just thinking, I was like trying to process the whole thing. Don't mind me, I am not from the other part where they love money, everybody love money. But I was already calculating how much this person has lost so far.
Of course.
Are they taking, what's going to happen to these things? Are they going to be destroyed? Have you been to these shops before to give them warning? We are coming so day. Remove these things from your supermarket and all of that. These are some of the things, because times are really hard. Times are really hard. So that's what I feel.
I appreciate the fact when you said that, you know, how much notice was given to these people, and it has to be in years, because most of these products you buy, they have like a year to 2 years before they get expired. And most times these big retail shops always buy like in bulk, so you don't expect them to buy just one carton. As you can see, those products are way beyond 10-15 cartons. And now this person is really running at a loss, as we know right now. Sometimes I think the government really needs to put things into consideration. The drink is actually not the problem. That is what I'm even asking right now. Why are you picking the drinks? If the straw is the problem, since it's a single-use plastic, why not single out the straw from the drink? Then trash the straw or something. But then again, I like one of the comments when someone says, go to the roots. We always try to solve things from the top, and it doesn't work. If you are fighting corruption, go to the roots. Who are the people behind this whole thing? You go to the roots. If you are fighting things like this, go to the roots. You go to people producing this. We have warehouses where they produce things like this. We have manufacturers here in Nigeria and even in Lagos there. I think most of these industries are mostly in Lagos. You can go there, give them the notice, and make sure that you put a ban to it. And if you see anyone doing that, maybe you drop a fine and the person pays a huge fine, and you know, they will stop doing things like this. So I think we are really not solving issues like we are supposed to in this country.
This is not the best way for me at all. This is not the best way. So the authorities should look into it again. They should look into it again.
This kind of thing can call for protest, like the retail. I'm sure we have like a retailers organization or retailers association in Nigeria, and they can actually, you know, protest against things like this, because this is their money. These money are money. And that Capri-Sun, honestly, we love Capri-Sun. We only complain that the straw should be stronger. They used to have an orange straw. It's around it used to be an orange straw, and that straw was really very strong. Like you can pierce through and, you know, take your drink.
There are straws that you can't even take without a straw. There are some that you can't take.
So what do we do about that? You see, we that patronizes people.
Just give a rule. This is how this thing should be disposed. If you are caught dropping it on the road or anywhere,
making a mess,
at least I know it was done in places like Port Harcourt where you can't drop a sachet, you know, outside from the car or on the street. You dispose them accordingly.
Also, talking about disposing things accordingly, I remember earlier in Abuja, we usually have this like this bin in different locations. Before you move like few steps away, you already have a bin where you can actually. But recently, I've not been seeing that. I think that should be a discussion for another day. I don't know if it's these scavengers that take this in, because most times those things were built with iron.
They can do it. If they can remove manhole, then they can remove.
Then that one is a small thing. Oh God. Anyways, that's all we have for you today on Social Buzz. I want to say thank you so much, Mr. Ramsey, for you know that contribution to today's discourse. And Global Morning continues. I'm Ogosh Kumomno. Just stay with us.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest. And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Welcome back from that break. Now we are going straight to the first conversation for the day, and I want to look at the Japa syndrome. Many times, if you call Japa in Nigeria, a lot of people already know what you are talking about. But for the sake of our viewers outside Nigeria, when we talk about Japa syndrome, is the situation whereby people migrate from Nigeria to other parts of the country. They call it Japa. There is no way you can leave a country without the proper documents that is required by the country of exit and country of entry. You will need an international passport, you will need a visa, and there are some other documentations that you need to acquire before you can be a legal migrant. Remember, we have legal migrants and we have illegal migrants. Just today, NICOM has warned that the issue of Japa is not compulsory, because we've had cases in the past where people leave Nigeria and they have to go through Libya and some other places through the desert just because they want to leave the country for only God knows what reason. A lot of people have different reasons why they leave the country, Nigeria especially. And some persons were caught up in Libya, and NICOM, which is Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, headed by Abike Dabiri. Well, she is the chairman, and of course a lot of people have been repatriated back. Some persons have been evacuated from countries where they migrated to illegally. Just recently, this week, we've had situations of regulations in the United Kingdom where it has been said that people whose visas have expired, who are not legal migrants, should be planning how to leave the country. Then one of the major aspects of the whole thing is the fact that, as it is right now, enforcement is seriously going on, and we are looking at this issue from different sides: the visa ban coming to Nigerians, and of course the regulations from these countries in quote. My guest will be joining me on the program this morning, a travel consultant, and we will be looking at the issues around Japa. Why do people Japa? What are the routes, the legal ways to leave, and of course, does these things have implications on the nation, on the economy of Nigeria? We'll return for the full conversation after this break. Stay with us.
Is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest. And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Welcome back. Let's get to the United States and just bring you a little background of these issues that we have at hand. The United States mission in Nigeria has actually urged the Nigerian travelers to strictly comply with the terms of their U.S. visas, because some people go against the violation and they are warning that violations could jeopardize future travel opportunities. That's what a lot of people don't know. In a statement that was actually posted on its official X handle, the mission noted that overstaying beyond the authorized period of agreement, because in every visa, when you're traveling, there is a period that you're supposed to stay, but overstaying that period constitutes what we call visa misuse. And of course, it carries serious consequences, including travel restriction. And there are certain things we need to know when we're talking about Japa syndrome, because it's not just all about leaving the country. The country you're going to, what do you know about that country? Like the UK, for instance, we're talking about it even this morning on the program, where the United Kingdom authorities are saying people who got visas, student visas, and they're already done with their studies and their visas have expired. Some of them are even working without getting the necessary documents, and this all constitutes a lot of problem for these people. And for the US,
according to what the U.S. authority have said, they said it is important to use your visa according to its term. Misusing it, for example, by overstaying, which is exactly what is happening even in the United Kingdom right now, may affect your ability to travel to the U.S. in the future. All right, the warning comes amid growing concern over tighter U.S. visa rules and increased compliance monitoring, because the monitoring is becoming very, very, very strict right now, as it has to do with the issue of visa. It will shock you to know that according to data from the U.S. Department of State, more than 700,000 people overstayed their visa in 2023. That is in the United States. We're not talking about other country yet, with Nigeria ranking among the countries with the highest figure inside these 700,000 people whose visas have already expired, who have overstayed in the United States. Nigeria is the highest. Okay, under the 1999 Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act, it was being clearly stated, individuals who overstay between 180 and 365 days face a 3-year re-entry ban, while those who overstay for more than a year risk a 10-year ban. That is for the United States of America. Then you begin to, sometimes you'll be forced to look at the issues that result to people migrating from one country to the other, especially for Nigerians. A lot of people move to actually get a greener pasture because of the economy. You can look, for instance, at the economy of Nigeria at this point in time. You can see the regulations and every other thing happening. These are issues that one can sit down and say, well, even if you must migrate from Nigeria, if you must japa at all, do it within the confine of the law. What is the law saying about it? That is very important. You know, all these things need to be taken into consideration, because the laws will cop top with you. See, let me just say this categorically clear. There are ways these things can be done legally. There is no country that exists in isolation. Every country, even in Nigeria, we have people migrating to Nigeria. All right, we have people migrating out of Nigeria, and we have immigrants, people who are coming into Nigeria too. So every country does not exist in isolation. You need the services of people from other country. You can't stay in your country alone. But for the United States, it's a different ball game altogether. Like we're talking about it this morning, it's not just all about Africans alone. When Donald Trump came on seat, the visa ban was for different countries. And a lot of people were even asked out of the United States of America, not just Nigerians alone. So what are the things you need to know, basic things you need to know when you are applying for your visa? Why are you traveling in the first place? I've heard people say things like, well, I've been applying for visa for this country for several years. I've not been able to get it. Now, have you sat down to know the reason why you are being denied visa? Like people who have overstayed in the past, they face a lot of problems. They face a lot of troubles. All right, when they want to reapply again because of their previous antecedent, like it is in the UK right now, the enforcement, mails are already being sent to people who are corporates. But then, apart from that, there are other ways of enforcing these regulations, and that's exactly what we are talking about. But as it is, whether it is the right way, you are jackpotting legally, it's either you're going for work, it depends on the route. Understand the route first before you even apply for your visa. Know the duration of your visa. By the time you get into these countries, what are the things, the documents you need to get? These are some of the things some travel consultants won't tell you. All right, But then, as it is right now, we need to know that so many things are happening. And as a matter of fact, we'll make it very clear that if it is illegal, it is illegal. If it is not illegal, then we know that people like that don't have issues. They've been cleared. You've gotten a visa. But how long are you supposed to stay? Let's go on a quick break. Global Morning returns after this break. Stay with us. All right. Welcome back from that break. Of course, we're talking about the Japa syndrome and Nigerians facing some form of restriction. Like I said, a travel consultant will be joining me on the program, and he's right here. It's been a long time that I've been speaking, but then at least the little time that we have, we'll look at some of the things that you need to know about visa, because it's not okay for you to overstay like it's happening in the UK right now, that they are forcing people to leave, especially people who got student visa. They've overstayed their visa, the timeline and all of that. Joining me on the conversation is a travel consultant, and he is the CEO Fred Mind Tag City. Fred Ogbole is joining me on the conversation. Good morning, Fred.
Good morning, Mr. Ramsey. Nice to be with you again.
Very well. Thank you for joining us on the conversation. Now let's quickly look at the issue of visa. There are so many things a lot of people don't know about visa application and the time frame for every visa. Can you give us just a brief background on visa application and the issue of overstaying, the implications for Nigerians?
Thank you so much for that. I will say that the idea of JAPA, or the JAPA syndrome as it say for Nigerian, need to be consistently worked on, or we need to educate people to remove that concept and replace it with the idea of traveling abroad for a purpose, right? If you're using the word JAPA, means people want to escape from something. It means that you are escaping from a problem, or you're escaping from a situation or anything. But if you're designing it in such a way that you want to travel for a purpose, for every traveling there is a purpose, right? You want to travel for study, you want to travel for tourism, you want to travel for business conference, you want to travel for work, you want to travel for a purpose. So if that purpose is defined, we will somehow gradually mitigate the embarrassment from international communities. I call it embarrassment, because for every country in the world, you own the right to travel to a country for a purpose and come back to your country. For us in Nigeria, most of our travelers travel with the intention of JAPA. So you are escaping from something. So when you escape, you don't have plan of coming back. And the moment you don't have plan of coming back, no country wants to keep you forever if you are not their citizen. No country has a plan of keeping you forever if you are not their citizen. So except you're working your citizenship in another country for the purpose which you traveled, when the purpose is exhausted, come back to your country. Now, traveling is very interesting and sweet if you only do it for a purpose. And the reason I'm hinting on that is, if you're traveling for, let's assume you want to travel for businesses, and you traveled the first time for business conference, you came back within the allotted time of a visa. You traveled the second time, you came back. You traveled the third time, you came back. That country will trust you to give you even 5 years visa. Now recently, as at July, US just went closer to travel ban for Nigeria. They have not completely banned Nigeria, but we are shortlisted as part of the 36 countries that will be banned soon. They are only monitoring us closely. Now, our right for 5 years visa has been seized. Our right for multiple entries have been seized. We are only open to 3 months visa, single entry for US. It's a two-way thing. They are going to benefit more because more people who apply, more rejections they get, more the country makes money from you. The few approvals you're going to get will be just 3 months maximum. Now these things can be prevented because of how Nigerians behave towards international communities, how we behave towards US, how we behave towards different other countries across Schengen countries. And that's one. The second part is our ambassadors to these countries, our Nigerian government and a lot of people could do better with relating with them in international relations. Build good alliance with them, build good relationships with them. Let it not just be citizens against government, let it be government against government, and citizens can benefit from it. That's just a background of it.
All right, I think I like that. The aspect where you talked about the fact that the government needs to come in. And of course, I just learned something, meaning if you're applying for your visa and the visas are being denied, the country you're applying to is making money because you pay for the visa application and all of that while you're losing. All right, the issue, let's look at the restrictions now. These restrictions that are coming, what has informed this restriction? For the United States, as soon as Donald Trump came into office, the restriction started, not just for Nigerians alone, like you said. It's not a complete ban yet, but then Nigeria is being watched. What do you think should be the things that is being looked out for Nigeria right now? You could remember what happened at the United Arab Emirates, right, to Nigerians and all of that. We've had that severally. For the United States, about 700,000 people actually overstayed their visa in 2023, and Nigeria has the highest number. Why do we have all of this happening and the implication to Nigeria's economy?
So this is going to cause more damage if nothing is done. And I will also go back to the initial thing I established about the purpose and government government coming in to liaise in this particular way. So first, the aspect of traveling, for currently 13 countries are banned for US, Afghanistan, Chad, Yemen, and other countries. Some other countries are placed on partial ban, which are like 6 countries about, and 36 countries are placed on close watch. Monitor these countries, check how their citizens behave when they come in and go out, right? But these ones are directly for citizens. So, and in Nigeria, there are no particular systems that allow people to get certain orientations or get certain behavioral patterns of how they behave when you're going to another country. Because if your passport carries Nigeria, you're going to represent Nigeria. Anything that happens. So the solution is simple. When you're traveling for a purpose, travel for that purpose. When the purpose is achieved, legally come back. If you want to extend your stay, there are ways to extend your stay without causing crimes illegally. Take for instance, you travel for study. For every country you go for study, you have at least 1 year post-study work permit. It's your entitlement. Some countries have 2 years. That year you are supposed to stay in that country and look for work. There is no way you will stay in a country for a whole year and not get a job, or 2 years and not get a job. When you get a job, you're now entitled to work legally. When you have done all of these things and your time has elapsed, it's okay to come back. But most Nigerians will travel for tourists. Let's say they give you a 1 month visa to travel to a country. You go there and you don't want to come back. The 1 month has elapsed, you're looking for hideout. The moment any country gets hold of you, 1, they will send you back. 2, that automatically dents the record of the image of that country that their citizens don't want to go back when their time has expired. Which for us, our visa in Nigeria are more strict and more difficult for them when they are coming to our country. In fact, the fees for our visas are just increased like ×2 of the previous ones. So if people in other countries want to come back to Nigeria, it's more difficult for them even we go into their countries. So when we put these things side by side, government policies that need to be checked, government international relations need to be improved and go back to the citizens. Citizens should do better. A random mindset of every Nigerian that want to travel is just carry your passport, dump it with one travel consultant, and tell the travel consultant should do everything possible let you leave this country in 2 months. That is literally not the right way to do it. The right way is, what do I want to go and do in the country? I want to go and work, I want to go and study, I want to go for leisure. Go for that purpose and come back. As simple as that.
All right. We have a lot of situations right now with people's visas being rejected. People apply for visa and they are being rejected. And for countries like the United States, United Kingdom, especially United States, at a point it was very difficult to even get the visa, not to talk about overstaying. Before you even go, we're talking about the legal aspect of visa application now. If you want to apply for visa legally, what are the things you should look out for, and what is the role of travel consultants? Because a lot of travel consultants have constituted nuisance in the past, and of course have contributed to the issue that has put Nigeria on a bad light right there on the global map because of the way these people behave when they go. And it depends on what the travel consultants tell the applicants. It also contributes. So if you want to apply for the visa legally now, how do you go about it?
So everything about travel is online. The job of the travel consultant, if it's done well, is just going to be experience. Since it's your job that you do professionally, it's going to be your experience to advise, to provide consultation, to suggest what and what not. So for everyone who wants to travel, don't deny yourself the privileges of going to check the information yourself. A lot of Nigerians don't check the information themselves. They dump it on the travel consultant, and anything they dump on them, they accept it. Because you can check everything from beginning to the end on everything you're using to travel. Take for instance, you're traveling to US, for instance. Let's say B1, B2 visa, which is tourist visa. It means you're going for tourism. You're just going for leisure. So you need to book a hotel where you're going. You need to be sure of where and where you want to visit as you're going, planned from here, not when you get there. All of these things need to be included in your processes. For instance, you're UK, you're going for family reunion, which is one of their visas in UK. You need to also get information of the family you're going to reunite with in UK. If you don't have a family you're going to reunite with in UK, you can't apply for a family reunion visa. So visas are defined based on the purpose of why you want to travel. And all of the documents must be legitimate, because these countries frown at anything that has to do with forgery. For instance, I had a client who we applied for visa for her, and her account statement was altered from our end, not from our end, right? Our account statement was altered. What did the embassy do? It was Sterling Bank. They went ahead, freeze the account, called for the client arrest, and other things involved. Those scenarios are in the event where documents are attempted to be altered or are altered per se. But if you want to travel, it is advised that you plan it. Don't do it as an instinct thing. If you want to travel in 6 months, you can plan it. 1 year, you can plan it from your account statement to the document you need to everything you need. At minimum, within 3 to 6 months, you've already sorted out everything ready to apply. But if you stand up now and you want to travel in the next 2 weeks, except there is a miracle that happens, because God works miracle. So except there is a miracle that happens, but it's not an overnight thing. It's not something that is under pressure. And of course, there's a lot of travel consultants who have dented the image of the travel industry, in quote, because of so many mischievous attitude that comes in between the play. But I will say that if you want to apply for anything, legally check the document. As a travel consultant is bringing, you are doing side by side. There are some you can counter because of the knowledge you've gathered. and informations online are free, but travel consultants are needed for some special needs, experiences, providing counseling, providing consultation, providing advices. I think basically that literally will help people to do better.
Oh, all right. We're talking about the Japa syndrome right now. Fred has said, well, the word Japa should be erased from there, that everyone traveling should have reasons why they are really traveling, and they should be ready to return back home when it's time to get back home. As a matter of fact, before I let you go, our time is fast spent. We want to get into the second conversation. But then before I let you go, I want us to look at this. Government regulations and restrictions. You know, every country have their restrictions and their regulations, like what is happening in the United Kingdom right now, where people who have overstayed, already some of them are getting emails. Some of them are already facing enforcement as the enforcement units get to the apartment. This is an advanced world here where they get your details. They can send you mail, they have your email and contact. Some are even receiving calls and all of that. These restrictions, is there any way, is it that, what would you have to say about people in that kind of situation? Is it that they neglected the right things that they were supposed to do so they don't fall victim, or circumstances just catching up with them? Did they get to know these things before they travel, or they get to know these restrictions when they get there?
So a lot of people do not check for a lot of information. Some of them get to know when they travel.
Just jackpot, I want to go.
Want to go. And when you are trapped in between those spaces, you are in a lot of confusion because you don't have the information. It is okay to check international policies of each country. Each country have a lot of differences. Schengen countries are 29 as we speak, about 30 who are going to be affected soon. But within the Schengen provinces, most of the countries have similar policies, but they still have little distinct policies within those countries. Countries like Spain, countries like Germany, countries like France have a bit of separate policies across other countries because they pride themselves as almost like they are stronger than the other Schengen countries, and there are more. So check the policies. For UK, for instance, most of their rules are around Home Office. Go to their website, go to Home Office website, check their rules, how it works for you, how it did not work for you, so that you won't break the rules. Because when you break the rules are more strict, and you're going to go in to pay the penalties of these rules, right? If you have a purpose of traveling, and within that space of time, go back to the country, go to the Home Office. Please, so I finished my study. I'm now eligible to work within this space, within this space, within this space. What and what can I do? All of these informations, you can legally get them there. Just go and make inquiry. Don't be scared to. But most people, they don't have the informations. They don't check for the informations. What they do is hide. When they get hold of you, they will send you back to your country. You don't need to hide. Go to the countries. I had a student who traveled to France, and she went on a study, and she discovered that she needed to learn French for her to simulate well within the country. Okay, I advised, go to your school and tell them your intentions. She went to the school, she told them, they transferred her to another school to learn French, while her admissions with this school was deferred to the next year. So she finished learning French, came back to her school, continued and studied. She's supposed to spend a year. Now she has spent 2 years legally. When she's done, she said, I have 1 more year for post-study work permit. So it is okay.
So it's even to our advantage as we speak.
It's your advantage if you are sincere and open enough to the country. Please, because what Nigerians also do is a lot of them travel and seek asylum, right? Which is what has happened in UK the most, and it's part of the reasons why UK said they're either seeking asylum or they're not planning of going back. And UK is ensuring that they will audit every latest in your bank statement to ensure that they find reasons to send you back or not even accept into the country. And that is because of previous records that are similar. Because if certain things are similar, it seems like it's a pattern for the country. And they will model the country in that way based on the data they have. They don't need to call you based on the data they have. So these things can be avoided when you go to the country. Just be as open and sincere as you are. For visas, it's like a doctor and a patient thing. A patient coming to a doctor and is not giving the doctor the entire information, the doctor will not be able to help you efficiently. So when you go to those countries, give them all the data. You don't need to lie. You don't need to say so many things. But when you try to sneak and hide, it's just going to be an amount of time. They will definitely get hold of you.
These are information that some consultants don't even release to the applicant. So, so I don't know. This is going to be a little tricky. We're rounding up now. This is going to be a little tricky. But finally, before I let you go, some consultants they are actually flaunting themselves as consultants. A lot of them are doing so many illegal practices just to get money from these desperate Nigerians who want to leave the country. That's the reason they've branded it Japa. Now, how do you get to know a sincere travel consultant who can get you through this process?
So legally, a few things I will say is, every country, particularly Nigeria has different organizations that hold travel consultants accountable.
Okay.
We have NANTA and a lot of them. There's a difference between travel agent and travel consultant. When you go on embassies, you see people hanging around. Come, let me do your document for you. Come, let me do your document for you. In quote, they are travel agents. They don't have an office. They don't have a verified way of tracing them.
People are transacting with them.
A lot of people do that. Now, transacting with them alone puts you in a lot of danger. How do you verify this person? How do you know this person? How do you work with this person? Where else can you find this person when you need to find the person? A proper consultant will have an office. A proper consultant will have a verifiable means. You have a registered business, you have SCUMA, you have a lot of things that allows them not just only to trace you, but to show that yes, you are on for the business and you're serious. But an agent who is just a roadside agent who just give money and tomorrow morning you might not be able to get the person is a dangerous way. No matter how desperate you are, find a proper consultant that you can as well go as well to ask the consultant, please send me your CAC to check. Please send me your registration that allows you to be verified.
The applicant has the right to ask those questions.
You just need it to ask, to arm yourself with necessary information in case. And also go as far as, for me, I go as far as signing agreements like memorandum of understanding. What am I going to do for you? What do I stand to deliver from my end? When it go wrong, what do we do? When it go right, what do we do? You have to write those terms clearly enough as a professional so that there is no going to be a lot of back and forth of how it happens at the end. Just for business sake, ensure that there is a black and white paper for any businesses that you want to do.
All right, ensure that there is a black and white paper for every business you do with a travel consultant or agent, whatever it is that person may want to call themselves, and also know that you have the right to ask questions, whether they are private questions, but this is in a bid to arm yourself against illegal travel consultants. And of course, one thing stands out for me. Instead of using the word Japa, it should be that you are traveling for a purpose, like it's been said by my guest on the program. Many thanks, Fred, for joining us on the program this morning.
It's my pleasure.
All right, this is going to be the size of the first conversation on Global Morning. We've talked about the Japa syndrome and the restrictions coming from countries around the world. Coming up next is the second conversation. Stay with us.
is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
What is your problem? What's your problem? We're on the road to protest. And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
All right, well, let's take it to a different dimension on the program. President Bola Tinubu has never minced words when it comes to his policy direction regarding driving foreign direct investment. And he has also been able to lay down to a very large extent his plan for achieving that very humongous task. The last 2 years plus, Nigerians have seen him travel time and again across continents into different countries. The most recent of these countries, 3 of them, Japan, Brazil, of course there had also been France in between that. However, the most, if you like, the latest of it all was the visits of the Vice President of Colombia, whom had several discussions with the Nigerian government, especially with the person of Vice President Kashim Shettima. Several promises made, hopes raised, and a future that is very promising also put in front of Nigerians. However, have these efforts yielded concrete, substantial results? Can we say that the outcomes are commensurate with the investments of time, money, and energy that has been made in this regard? Because whether you like it or not, there's always going to be metrics by which results in this regard are measured. I'm joined this morning by someone who has a handle and a background regarding this discussion. Emmanuel Ozomena is a public policy consultant here to help us find sense in this all-important conversation. Emmanuel, I'd like to say a big thank you to you for coming on the program.
Yeah, good morning, Ray, and good morning, Nigeria.
You and I have talked about not just the person of the president time and again, but the country and the policies that this government says it is passionate about. And to that extent, I'd like us to look at, for example, these several trips that President Bola Tinubu has taken the last few months in particular. Let's just say the last 1 year, for example, to create a specific bracket. What's your assessment in terms of how these trips were expected to drive foreign direct investment?
I think I will begin with this. I think a couple of days ago, while speaking with while the president was meeting with the APC, CPC, segment of APC, he was talking about why he has not been able to appoint envoys. And he talked about the challenge of taking decisions, the challenge of finding the right people, and then the humongous amount of money that will be involved in running, I think in the neighborhood of about $1 billion or thereabouts. So I looked at it, I said, look, that's actually an admission of a failure on the part of the president. Because countries, Donald Trump was sworn in on January 20th. Ahead of, I think, a few months before then, he was, as at the time November election happened, he was already naming envoys. Envoy to Israel, envoy to Middle East, envoy to France, envoy to the UK. That's how countries work. Countries that are serious about driving foreign direct investment. because your envoys are your chief marketers. And there are no excuses to it. That's the way it is. And you have, I think, over 100 Nigerian missions abroad. There are no substantive envoys, including the United Nations. Do you know what we lose by that? And then the president will now begin to travel.
So are you saying?
So it's actually putting the cart before the horse.
Are you saying it is not tenable, or valid an argument when the government under President Bola Tinubu says that it is funding constraints that have kept the government?
Yeah, but Nigeria is over 60 years old. Hold on. Nigeria is over 60 years old. From the day Nigeria became an independent country, we started engaging internationally, because international engagement actually left for specialized
career ambassadors,
key people. Tell me, we have over 100 missions abroad. I think about 125 or thereabout.
Upwards of 120.
Yeah. So you should have people there who are leading. There's this thing about political leadership. For instance, we had President Muhammadu Buhari, who took 6 months to appoint ministers. You know what we lost? What Nigeria lost? Because people want to speak to decision makers. A consular officer or whatever charging the affairs cannot drive such whatever. So by the time you haven't taken the first decision and you now say you are marketing, you are driving, because when you leave, at most if you pay a state visit to Brazil, to Portugal, to UK, to France, whatever, you can't be there more than a week and you are gone. So it's your chief representative there who should drive these processes.
So are you saying when the government, just for perspective and for better understanding by our viewers, are you saying when the government, the Tinubu-led government says we're not able to disperse or if you like commission these
appoint
these ambassadors, and of course there are those who will work with them in these foreign nations that we mentioned, it's on account of the fact that there has been paucity of fund. Do you think that is total falsehood or half-truth?
No. When you tell look, it's about marketing. If I say, look, my country is broke, nobody is going to come around. It's about branding.
But is there any truth in the fact that we lack the money to appoint and disperse?
No, but what you could do, you could think about rationalizing. Say, okay, how many countries do we have in the Middle East? How do we appoint? Do we give people multiple accreditation? What you call ambassador plenipotentiary. Right. So now one ambassador could man about 4 countries, as we want to rationalize. But take a decision on that. And then when you say, I find it difficult to appoint, they are career ambassadors. People who have been in foreign affairs ministry over a long time, who understand the rules and all that. Usually for countries, what they do is you do it either 60-40, 60 career, because these are people who had learned the ropes over time.
You said the protocols.
Yeah, and then you could maybe bring in about 40%. For the United States, most times it's about 20% of political appointees. The rest are clearly career people. When you meet an ambassador from France, from any of the European countries, the United States, you could know, look, that you're talking with people who have gone through the ropes. So that's the. In fact, I became a little bit worried. I can't find people how, in the last 60 years, over 60 years, leaders have been finding people. Do you know what that 2 years is? And because the key thing is that if I need information on any country, the best place to go is to the embassy. I want to make decision makers. And who is the decision maker? The ambassador or the high commissioner.
Right.
Yeah, so the thing is about really understanding, prioritizing. If you say I don't have money today, so what you would say, how much do I have? What do I need to prioritize? What is the cost benefit of having a properly running missions abroad? Because you're talking about diplomacy, you're talking about your weight. There are all kinds of things that come in. You're talking about driving trade, you're talking about negotiations, you're talking about engagement, you're talking about soft power diplomacy. And is a political leadership
of the missions that takes those decisions. So it's a very, for me, okay, let's look at the trips. Japan, what happened in Japan? It's African-Japan Economic Summit. And why do these countries, I mean, there's China, Africa, Sino-Africa Summit for China. There's a South Korea Africa Summit. It happened, in fact, the first one happened last year. There's US African Summit. I think in a couple of months, Trump will be hosting one. President Biden hosted several of them. There's Russian summit. So why do these countries do this? They want to open up their country. They're asking you, please come and see. Let's take a trip around our industrial complex. So they want to build their reputation. They want to build their brand.
Right.
So participating at that conference, I mean, we had the issue of where the Nigerian stand was said to be empty. You remember that argument? And somebody was saying we would do a lot. No, you go there, put on information on Nigeria. People will come there for inquiry. So that's also because the embassy, there's a disconnect between foreign affairs and whoever organized that.
And the ministry back at home.
But naturally, it should have been the trade department, the trade section in the foreign affairs out there in the mission. In Japan, I should organize it. So these are some of what you get when that political leadership is missing. Because if I'm the envoy there, I'll say, look, this is a huge conference. Right. Can we bring in whatever Nigeria needs to market? Because this is the best place. It's a lot of people, investors, I mean, are coming in there. Yeah. People from the international donors, the international financing institutions, they are all going to be there. They want information on Nigeria, and they want to meet somebody who takes them through a process. And you come in there, every other booth was functional except Nigeria. So that's also that gap in political leadership at that level.
Very interesting. But I want us to talk about Brazil, for example. It seems to be a bit dear to President Tinubu's heart. I mean, looking at the way he carried himself around his Brazilian counterpart, Lula da Silva, many of the engagements that they had in terms of trade, diplomatic relations, and so on and so forth. One can look at Brazil and say, well, yes, there's so much we have in common, there's so much we can do together in addition to what we have already been doing together. But I've spoken to experts, I mean policy experts like yourself, who say that in the case of Colombia, the trade volume between Nigeria and that country, it's essentially infinitesimal. And now Nigeria government says, well, the path has been cleared for Nigeria to have straight flights taken off from Nigeria straight into Colombia and things like that. How much of economic sense does this make?
No, even Brazil. Okay, look at it. What does Nigeria stand to gain from Brazil? I mean, how many Brazilians travel to Nigeria? Can the Ministry of Tourism share the data with us? I mean, I heard somebody talking about the Afro-Brazilians who are 70 million out of the 212 million people in Brazil. I say, how much does it mean to them that they are of African
descent,
ancestry? I mean, it's like talking to an African American about Nigeria. I mean, some of them get angry. They say, if someone told me, an African American told me, look, your ancestors sold our ancestors. You guys have bad hearts. I was apologizing for something that happened over 400 years ago.
That's right.
So the key question is this: Nigeria, Brazil should have, I mean, strong diplomatic ties, trade ties, but is it trade in favor of Nigeria? The answer is no. Brazil, it's among G20.
That's right.
They've been able to pull themselves through the bootstrap and created middle-level industrialization. It's not industrialized because it's not among the G8. You know, it's G8. If you take out Russia, it becomes
G7. That's right.
Yeah, but Brazil is not there. But they are within the G20,
which is the 20 fastest growing economies.
And they are, and it's an emerging economy.
Right.
So are there lessons to learn from Brazil? I think we're not learning enough. If you remember, the former minister of agriculture under President Muhammadu Buhari had looked, because he's the late Chief Audogbe,
right.
God bless his soul. he looked at the transformation of the agricultural sector in Brazil. Brazil used to be a very rural country, just like Nigeria. They were doing rudimentary agriculture, but they've been able to pull themselves through. I mean, you can't find cattle on the road. I mean, all over Abuja now, you could see faces of cattle everywhere, including central area. You could see it dotted over the place. So I was asking myself, if I come into Abuja, I'm a tourist, is that what I want to see? I'm talking about central area, dotted.
The very heart of the nation's capital.
Of the nation's capital. You can't have that in Brazil. What they have been able to do, move from rudimentary nomadic agriculture into a more specialized, stationary agriculture.
Right.
Their beef sector, I think if my memory serves me right, they have over 300 million heads of cattle. I said 300 million. In Nigeria, it's 19 million heads of cattle. I had spoken several years ago on a program. I said, look, on agriculture, I said, what we have here is a politics of cattle, politics of beef. But we're not doing business of beef. Brazil supplies to the whole world processed meat, processed cattle, the best of breed. But here, we're here still, do we do ranching, do we do this? These guys have moved ahead. And there was something very, very unique, innovative. They had developed grass. Now you could have a stock, feed stock for your cattle. So you don't need to move from Sokoto to Karuanamuda, or from Karuanamuda to Umuahia, or from Newman to Ijabode. You don't need to, on foot. Because the point is that it saw, I'm sure one of the biggest regret of Chief Audu Ogbe was that plan didn't work, because by now we would have been counting gains. So these are some of the things we should have been taking out. I hope that the minister of the animal husbandry went on this trip.
Right.
So what do we need to learn from Brazil? If you ask me, what we should be taking from Brazil is more of learning, because we don't what do we export to Brazil? They've got crude oil. They're a member of OPEC. They have Petrobras, one of the biggest state-owned or most efficiently run state-owned oil.
Perhaps in the class of Saudi Arabia's Aramco.
Yeah, they're there. So what lessons are we taking from them? It's not about asking them to come to Nigeria, come and do what? Because you are in the same market with them.
Right.
So we shouldn't be. We import vehicles, I mean, Macapolo and all that brand of vehicles and some machines from Brazil. So what would we be, tractors and what have you, what should we be learning from Brazil? If you ask me, go to Brazil, for me, I'll go with a big note, take copious note. I would ask them, how did you do this transition from rudimentary cattle rearing
to something mechanized, industrialized
ranching system? These are the lessons we should be taking from Brazil. I mean, in terms of tourism, how many Brazilian tourists come in here? It's Nigerians going there. I mean, I heard about direct flight. It's for purposes of Nigerian traders who are going there to buy things. And how many Nigerians do we have there? People travel to do business. So what do we have to sell to Brazil? If you look at, this whole thing about foreign direct investment, take a look, do a deep dive on the balance of trade between Nigeria and United States, Nigeria and India, Nigeria and China, Nigeria and Japan, Nigeria and South Korea, Nigeria and Tanzania. And intra-Africa trade, it's a mess. It's less than 14%.
Amongst African countries.
Amongst African countries. And that's why African Free Trade Agreement, free trade area.
African Free Trade Continental
Agreement was set up in 2000.
I've really been able to get that framework off the ground. Is it running? Is it operational?
Incidentally, they mixed an opportunity. I mean, when the treaty was signed, was ratified in in Kigali in 2017, Nigeria was missing.
Why was that?
I mean, former immediate past president Muhammadu Buhari, the late President Muhammadu Buhari, say he hasn't studied it. I said, study what? I mean, incidentally, the meetings around that very process, Nigeria bore the greater burden of it. The headquarters was supposed to be in Nigeria, Abuja, Nigeria. But we missed that opportunity because we were not there the day it was ratified, and they moved it to Accra. That's where the secretariat is. The point is that a country, we have not done deep reflection on what we want, on bringing in our weight at top level, at international diplomatic level, and say this is what we want, this is what we want to negotiate. Because the secretariat was zoned to West Africa and is in Accra, Ghana. By the time, because Nigeria didn't sign, Nigeria was not there at Kigali on the day it was, it was ratified, because you need to be there, put your name on the list. We signed several, whatever. I hear, I don't know, that is unconfirmed, that there were pressures by some small industrial, whatever, players here who were afraid that big corporations from South Africa was going to come and dominate them. So if you're afraid of domination, what you need to do is to learn, steal the technology from the other part. That's how to. Japan, at the end of Second World War, was in ruins. How did they build back? I hope at that summit we were able to ask them, look, my friend from Japan, what did you do? How did you pull out from that ruins of Second World War? Just in 1945. What did you do? Because the entire Japanese economy was in shambles. But they are today amongst the 7 industrialized countries in the world.
Right.
So my worry is, we travel, we interact, but we don't pick the lessons we should. The low-hanging fruit we can pick from Brazil as we speak now is how to industrialize the cattle market, the meat market, the poultry market. Brazil has shown clear example.
Let me just ask you this as we start winding down, Emmanuel. Nigerian government says Petrobras, the Brazil state-owned oil company, is returning to Nigeria. Help us make sense of that.
No, for me it doesn't make sense. These are your competitors. So you're happy you're a competitor. Hope is state-owned. Remember Lula had problem the other time over corruption changes and all that around Petrobras.
Right.
His successor, the lady president, had to resign ahead of the World Cup. You remember? Yeah, under the weight of those
allegations.
In fact, it was the Brazilian Supreme Court gave a ruling that let Lula off the hook.
Right.
And I think they will also return back. It's not closed. But it's just that they say, look, there were processes that were not followed.
Right.
So, and he quickly, because of his popularity, he was re-elected.
Right.
Yeah. But what I'm saying simply is this. If you ask me, if I'm on the part of a government advisor, what we should be doing is, what lessons are we drawing from Brazil? For me, that's more important. How did they pull their technologies hub? How were they able to pull their agricultural hub? Where did they steal the technology that you have in Brazil at the moment from? And how did they pull their economy into the first 20 emerging economy globally? For me, that's more important.
I think this is a question.
And this issue of, ancestry, cultural exchange. What cultural exchange? People come to, just tell me how many people travel to Nigeria? How many people come in here? Because you need to build some systems in place, put in strong security system, strong processes to attract people.
Right. Quite interesting. But then again, these are issues that we need to continue to interrogate. At least we understand that President Bola Tinubu still has quite some time, at least for his first term. But then the issue of foreign direct investment and how that, like our guest has said this morning, we need to pull ourselves out of wherever we are currently, cannot be taken for granted, and it's not an issue we should be dealing with casually. But then again, we're always going to find metrics by which we measure the efforts put into all of these trips, all of the initiatives around foreign direct investment, and then what we are seeing on the ground by way of results. I'd like to say a big thank you to you, and one of the public policy experts, consultant, for coming to talk to us about these issues this morning. We'll take our final break on the program now. When we return, Ramsey and I will do our goodbyes. Is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
What is your problem? What's your problem? We're on the road to protest. And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
I hope that Nigeria will raise its game on many fronts, including in terms of our foreign policy, because whether you like it or not, given the new moves by the U.S., Nigerian government has said that it will reciprocate. Whatever that means, diplomatically and politically, we wait to see. That's one of the issues. The second issue has to do with foreign direct investments. No country can do much all by itself in this day and age. I mean, this is a new millennium, 25 years into another century. So there's got to be the perspective that the world has become a global village. And for a country like Nigeria that has not announced appointments of heads of foreign missions, or if you like, ambassadors, it means that we have far more work to do than we readily realize. Just a quick reminder, as always, that the views of our guests on all of our programs are their opinions, and the newspaper headlines that we bring to you here are exactly as published by their respective publishers. On behalf of myself, Ramsey Enoch Agbo, and the entire team here at Global Television's world headquarters in Abuja, Nigeria's capital, I am Agbo Fube, saying thank you for your time and have a great day ahead.